Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Partnerships Economic Outlook webinar. We're going to get started in a minute. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Partnerships Economic Outlook webinar. We're just letting folks into the Zoom room, and we will get started here momentarily. Well, good morning. My clock shows 8 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Tiffany Tauschek, and I'm the President and CEO of the Greater Des Moines Partnership. Thanks, everyone, for joining us to kick off your day. We are so excited to host the fourth and final scheduled event in our Economic Outlook webinar series today. Today's event is going to focus on the state of ag innovation. We, of course, understand how important it is to our investors and affiliates to hear from industry experts on how they're navigating timely, sector-specific topics. And during this four-part series, we've been joined by leaders in some of our region's key industries to hear from them on how they're navigating the economy and how they're preparing for the future. Today, we are joined by a panel of industry experts in ag innovation. And before we begin, I'd like to note that this is an invite-only virtual event that is open exclusively to Greater Des Moines Partnership investors and affiliates. Additionally, this conversation is considered off the record, and the use of any AI note-taking or other transcription tools is prohibited. Thanks, everyone, for your cooperation. Appreciate it. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists as they have a wide range of expertise and topics to cover today. So joining us, we have Lane Arthur, VP Precision Technologies at John Deere. We have Jeremy Dirks, President North America Business at Corteva Agriscience, and Jason Andringa, President and CEO of Vermeer Corporation. So welcome and thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to start this off with just a few questions, and then to our attendees, thanks for joining us, and please go ahead and drop any of your questions into the chat box. We'll get to as many of those questions as we have time for. So let's start off today with each of our panelists giving just a brief introduction of themselves and their organization, and then tell us a major trend that you're seeing right now in your sector. So with that, we're going to start off with Lane. Welcome, Lane.
Yeah, thanks, Tiffany. So maybe a little bit about me. My role is it's called Precision Technologies. Think of that as the technology that John Deere puts on our machines. So that's everything from displays in the cab to cameras to some of the AI things we do with cameras. To the GPS guided machines to connectivity with AT&T and Starlink. Those are examples of kind of what I do. My organization, I work for the Chief Technology Officer, and we are a technology organization within Deere. In Des Moines, many of you may have seen this building on the north side of 8035. It says it's John Deere thing on the north side. Technically in Urbandale, looks like it's in Johnston. That seats about 900 people. Those are all people working on technology, whether that's digital technology like mobile and web apps, or if that's my group. And we have a test farm out in Bondurant where we test our technology. So if people ever wonder whether there's great technologists within Des Moines, I'll tell you that while I may not be one, I manage a whole bunch of them that are a lot of fun. So yeah, we do some cool stuff right here in Des Moines.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lane. We appreciate you making time today. Now I'll ask Jeremy Dirks to introduce himself and talk about one major trend that you're seeing.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Glad to be here and looking forward to the conversation, Tiffany. As you mentioned, I lead our sales, marketing, and support teams across US and Canada for Corteva. So we bring seed and crop protection solutions to farmers and ag retailers every day. If you don't know Corteva, you might know Pioneer. We're just off 86th and 62nd here in Johnston. Pioneer is our flagship seed brand that's celebrating their 100th anniversary this year. If you know the backstory of Pioneer, was founded by Henry Wallace. He left a lasting mark on our company and really on the greater Des Moines area. It all started on a farm here in Johnston, which is home to about 2,000 of our employees. Um, so when I think about trends, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is innovation. Really the basis of this webinar. We invest about $4 million every day in R&D, and a cornerstone of that investment now is through our breeding technologies, one of which is gene editing. Gene editing can really bring new ways to boost crop yields, crop performance, and overall resilience. Good example of that, we've developed a new way here recently to stack a set of native traits into the corn genome to help the crop be protected from the foremost damaging diseases in North America. So really exciting new innovation. So innovation like this, we feel helps produce more with less, and it's what growers need right now, along with producing a stable food supply for our growing population.
Excellent. Thank you for all that you do and really appreciate you making time for us today, Jeremy. Now, I'd invite Jason Andringa to do the same. Introduce yourself and touch on one major trend you're seeing.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be with you. Jason Andringa, CEO of Vermeer. I have been with Vermeer for 20 years or my whole life, depending on how you look at it. My grandfather founded Vermeer 77 years ago, and I'm incredibly proud to work at the company that has his name on the side of the building and on the side of the machines. Also very proud that my mother was my immediate predecessor in the role of CEO at Vermeer. So I would say that the trend that I would point to is actually a trend that's been going on for 77 years, and my other two fellow panelists pointed to it as well, and that is developing machines and technologies to reduce labor on the job site and on the farm. So 77 years ago, my grandfather had built a product for his own use on the farm, and his neighbors saw it and said, "Hey, would you build one of those for me?" And pretty soon he had enough demand that he needed to hire somebody. And that was the start of Vermeer. And for 77 years, we have been developing products and technologies to help farmers and workers do more on their job site with the same amount of labor.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And thank you to each of you for your leadership and for your organization's continued advancement of our region and all that you're doing. So, as you each think about the next 5 years, what are you seeing as some of the biggest challenges and some of the biggest opportunities? So, for this one, let's start with Jeremy.
Well, I mean, as far as the challenges go, ag cyclical. I mean, if you're in this business, you know that well, and you know that we're in a downturn right now. So that definitely the challenge part, and I think that does help us shape how we think about the future, though. We just have to be more focused on creating value for growers, new markets, new revenue streams, new ways to produce more on the same land, and that's the perspective we try to take in the opportunity piece. A good example of that is biofuels. I see that as one of those opportunities. Good example of that is we've developed a winter canola program for growers in the southern U.S. and it's a double cropping system where farmers grow canola in the winter or the off season, and then that's processed into oil for renewable fuels. But it meets the increasing demand for biofuels, and it gives growers a new income stream. So when we think about those type of opportunities, that's a win-win and a win all around.
Excellent. Thank you. Jason, same question.
So first of all, Vermeer is not affiliated with row crop agriculture, but of course, being a Iowa company, headquartered in Pella, Iowa, with two other factories in Iowa, plus a technology hub in Ames, we're very aware of row crop agriculture. In fact, the farmer across the street started chopping corn yesterday. So even though Vermeer is not affiliated with row crop agriculture, we're definitely very aware of row crop agriculture. So the part of agriculture that Vermeer is affiliated with is what we call forage. So primarily harvesting forage crops for the beef industry, to a lesser extent the dairy industry, but for livestock in general. And the dynamics have been just a little bit different on the forage side than on the row crop side. So it really wasn't until this year that we started to see some of the softness that there already was in row crop agriculture. And it for sure is cyclical, but maybe not quite as deep of a cycle for forage in this particular ag cycle. So, I think some of the challenges are what I said in the beginning. Iowa's population is essentially the same today as it was 100 years ago. And so it's just difficult to find the workers that we need in all areas of the supply chain and into, the farms and our dealerships. So particularly technical skills, people who can work as service technicians in our dealerships and finding the labor that we need at Vermeer and that farmers need to find on the farm. So I think those are kind of the things that are on our minds a lot.
Thanks, Jason. And just as a reminder, we are here to help. We are pushing for additional talent
Yep.
and trying to draw them in. So really appreciate that there are so many great jobs that all of your organizations are offering to help attract that talent to our region. That really makes such a huge difference. So appreciate those comments. Now I'm going to turn it over to Lane. So biggest challenges, biggest opportunities for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just maybe piggyback on what Jeremy and Jason just said, right? So maybe not in the next 5 years, but I believe our farmers in Iowa need another route of selling their commodity crops. We're big on biodiesel, biofuels as well. Whichever one whatever you want to do, I think that would be important for our customers and Jeremy's customers as well. We see the labor issue. I hear the labor issue quite a bit with our farms. To Jason's point, our dealer and technical talent. I have technical talent that has no ag background. Maybe to give the audience some numbers. So if you go back to 1920, 26% of the U.S. population was involved in producing food in agriculture. Today, or at least 2022 numbers is what I have, that number is less than 1.5%. So what that means is that our farmers have become more and more efficient through genetics, through mechanization. They become more and more efficient, which for most of you on this phone has freed you up to do other things rather than worry about where your food's going to come from. So it's a really good thing. I think that trend over the next 5 years continues. We certainly see technology as a way to continue that trend. And really, we have kind of two areas of focus. One is how do we make our machines easier to use with people that have never been on a machine before. So, how do you grab somebody who's never been on a combine and make them an expert combine operator? Well, you use automation to do that, and they can get in and hit a few buttons, and it sets everything and runs on its own, right? So that's one thing. How do you help the labor that doesn't have the years and years of experience that we grew up with our parents and our uncles and all those folks? And then the second is how do we help with technology where they don't have enough labor? So one of the revelations I had a couple of weeks ago finally hit me talking to a farmer. They said, if autonomous tractors come, I won't need fewer people, but I can now deploy them in a different way than I do today, because there's lots of work that isn't getting done because I've got somebody in a tractor. And so if I can get that person out of the tractor, I can have them do something else. And so those are kind of the two big areas my group focuses on to try to make kind of deal with the labor issue we've got over the next 5 years. Technology is continuing to change, as we all know. It's true for us as well, right? We are continuing to use AI in a multitude of ways to really create better products and make things more effective. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Lane. And let's dig in specifically to AI. Thanks for bringing that up. Jason, let's start with you. How is AI changing your organization and just the industry overall from your seat?
In my last response, I really just kind of focused on challenge, but I can definitely pivot toward opportunity. And I would say that in general, people are just increasingly comfortable with technology. It's more and more difficult to find somebody who has experience turning wrenches. But when you ask people to use technology in their jobs, they're happy to do it. And so I think AI is just the next round of labor-saving technology. And I think we're already seeing that people are more than happy to leverage AI to do kind of the grunt work for them, frankly. From what I've seen and what I anticipate for at least a while, AI can generate 90% of the content that a person's going to need for something that they're working on. And then the person needs to put that final 10% polish on it. And I think that's an incredible combination of technology and human skill set to use a tool to do the most basic part of your job, even if it's the majority of your job, and then add that human wisdom, that human polish, that human touch that shows creativity. So yeah, I think we have seen over the last couple of decades that as hands-on skills have declined, and frankly, we've taken it on to train people in hands-on skills from step one. So as we've kind of taken that over, we've seen on the flip side, you have a generation, and it's been going on for a while now, that is more than happy to use the technology available to them to make their jobs easier, to do a better job. And I think we'll continue to see that in all facets of work.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jason. Jeremy, same question.
Yeah, as far as AI, we use it in many ways across the company. I was trying to think of maybe the biggest impact that we use it for, and it's probably in our seed breeding program, just to speed up product development. Specifically, our breeders across North America, they can test literally millions of combinations, but they use a form of AI to screen and test materials to identify the most promising products and technologies even before they get planted. So it really speeds up product development. We also use it to fast track analysis of drone data. I think we still have one of the world's largest drone fleets and just take in a lot of data. And so just to fast track that analysis is extremely helpful in what you're looking for. It also streamlines our regulatory submissions. So that can often require just a huge amount of information and data, and we can speed things up a lot with AI there. Last year, I think another good example is we launched a tool called Carl. I think it's Corteva agronomic resource library, but it's kind of our AI agronomy assistant. So it would be our internal form of chat GPT for our sales reps and agronomists as they help tailor specific product recommendations and pass on information to growers. They use a form of AI just to pull from all of our data and summary, including weather data and things like that over the years. So that'd be a few examples maybe of how we use it.
Excellent. Thank you. Carl, right? Carl?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Lane, you started us off down this road on AI. What would you like to add?
Well, I think maybe, and I mentioned this earlier, right? So if I look at how we automate things today, we're using different versions of AI, whatever they may be, convolutional neural networks, or the latest is the hot thing or transformer models. We're using those to train our automation and train our autonomy. Today, that requires a lot of images, a lot of a lot of data to train for all the weird things that happen in ag. And so we have it more as a product focus. I would say we're definitely, we're down the road doing those things. We're also looking from a product point of view at all the let's pick the most unused thing in a vehicle today, and that's your manual for how to do something. In the John Deere world, we put that in a piece of plastic, and years later, when you pull it out, it's still in a piece of plastic, meaning that customer never opened that manual to figure out how to do something, right? So how do we use AI to help them figure out how to use their machine better? We've got some of those initiatives going on. My group is not where we ought to be, but we're kind of how do we use this to help us write code better? Maybe this helps everybody. I was talking to one of our most talented developers today, and this week, but he's one of our most talented developers here. And I said, what are you doing around AI? And he said, well, I use it to help sort things into different buckets, but also sometimes I'll give it a problem that I can't quite figure out how to solve. And he said it's if it was a coworker, they would be both brilliant and ignorant at the same time. He's like, sometimes the answer they give me is amazing, and I never would have thought of it, and I implement it, and it works. And sometimes I'm like, where did that come from? Why are you telling me that? And he even made the comment, and it's arrogant too. It never tells me I don't know. It never answers and says, I don't have an answer. It always gives you an answer, and then you have to figure out, is this the right answer or not the right answer? And I think that's just the stage of where we are with AI. It in some cases it's awesome. In other cases, it's like, well, okay, that's not very helpful. And so we're still trying to sort it out to figure out what it is. There's no question in my mind. It is going to be a part of our future. If you just think about your use of a phone, think about your use of maps, think about how you use search today to augment what I can't remember something, so I go do a search and look it up. AI will be the same sort of thing for us, I think, going forward. It's going to happen. It'll start shaping the way we think about stuff. So.
Thank you so much, Lane. One of the comments we've heard through some other conversations with panelists on prior Economic Outlook webinars is that AI is a little bit like an intern, where they can be helpful to get you like 90% of the way. No offense, we were all interns, most of us at some point in our lives, but gets you 90% there, and which is great and certainly additive to the team. So really, really appreciate the comments. And also just a quick shout out, the Greater Des Moines Partnership has a new AI roundtable that we've begun to help leaders who are looking to best practices and learning from others. So don't be surprised if we tap each of you on the shoulder to come and meet with that group as well, because I think you've all got really great perspectives related to AI and leveraging it to benefit the team and the organization. So thanks for the conversation on that. Okay, let's shift a little bit to focus on customer and client expectations. How are you seeing their expectations evolve and change, especially in recent years? And how are you responding to some of those changes in needs? So for this one, Lane, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about the adoption curve. There's a hype cycle, and then there's a kind of a trough, and then people get used to it. And I would say with our customers, we're in the same boat. We have early adopters. They're going to do it right away. They buy into it. We have others that are like a little more, okay, I'm going to wait and see. And then, technology doesn't always do exactly what you want. And so one of the changes that is happening, and it's happening because of our personal use, is that we are much more likely now to speak to our phone than we are to type something in. And so then that's beginning to change how we think about what is our human computer interaction, if you will. because, if you're in the cab of a machine, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of stuff happening, but people are more and more used to talking to a computer to say, hey, Siri, or hey, Alexa, or hey, Grok, tell me what you think, right? And so that we have a group here in Des Moines that focuses on and studies the interaction of the user experience and how they interact with machines. And they're starting to look at, what does this mean for us from a technology point of view? How do we think about that differently than we have before? Because we're so used to just building something that people punch into a display. So,
Thank you so much. Jason, same question.
So the short answer is that customer expectations keep increasing. That is a continuous trend. I honestly think the expectation for all of us that manufacture equipment is, our machinery is going to work all the time, and so on the one hand, it's an opportunity to fulfill that expectation and make sure in those cases where there is a mechanical breakdown that the service is top notch. But to Lane's point, I think customers more and more want to be able to get the information they need really quickly. So we've put QR codes on some of our machines for kind of common issues that a customer can scan the QR code and get a quick video or something fairly short to help them figure out how to do maybe more routine maintenance or an easy fix. But I think the continuation in the ag space of precision agriculture, automation, particularly for those jobs where it's particularly hard to get labor to do those jobs, sort of the least appealing jobs on the farm. We're focused on machines that can do that work autonomously. And just really trying to make sure that customers are able to find the information that they need in the way that they want to. And like Lane said, it's not paper manuals anymore. So we've got to figure out how to provide that information digitally to our customers. And when the customer can't figure it out, a trained, competent technician needs to be quickly available to take care of the issue.
Speed. Yes, that is certainly an ongoing expectation, just going faster and faster to get those answers. So thank you, Jason. Jeremy, same question.
Yeah, I think Lane and Jason hit it well. I mean, I feel like we're all seeing increased expectations overall, especially a few things come to mind, like as mentioned, easier access to data. I think everybody has increased expectations there. Things like more tailored services specific to their own farm, more specific advice, trusted advice, and then most importantly for us, it's product performance. We know that growers will invest with us in seed and crop protection if there's a clear return. So that's on us to deliver that. If they don't see a difference in their fields, oftentimes they don't continue to buy from us. So we feel that increased expectations every year, and we spend a lot of time just in effort developing products with performance that can speak for itself, if you will. Few examples last year, a few things I wrote down was Pioneer, I think, had a 13 bushel advantage over its competition in our data sets last year. That helps meet increased expectations. Things like soybeans that can deliver a yield advantage consistently year over year and bring protection from agronomic diseases and other things that growers need stability for and crop resilience for. So that's probably where we feel the most increased expectations every year.
Thank you. So just a reminder to our attendees, if you have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat and we'll get to those as available. For now, a quick question for each of you. Share with us one decision that you've made recently that has significantly shifted your business. So for this, Jason, let's start with you.
I was hoping maybe not to be asked to go first on this. I think for me, it's just really continuing to have a long-term orientation. And I alluded earlier to the fact that we have two other manufacturing locations in Iowa, and the facility that we have in Des Moines. And Tiffany, you were there for kind of our public opening of that. Appreciate you being there. That has proven to be a really good decision. And I give my sister, who's our VP of Operations and our VP of HR, all the credit for helping make that decision to tap into another pool of labor within Iowa. We love this state. We love the work ethic of people that we can hire within this state. We feel like the Vermeer brand is strong in this state. So that has proven to be a great decision. Rather than continue to try to draw from the surrounding communities of Pella and the surrounding communities, to literally go just an hour away and tap into a much bigger labor pool, but yet at the same time where the Vermeer brand is strong, has been a great decision for us. So yeah, I would point to that as kind of a recent decision.
Thank you. And we're so glad that you're continuing to grow your footprint in the Greater Des Moines region. So thank you for your continued commitment. With that, we'll shift over to Lane. Same question. A decision that you've made that's significantly shifted your business.
Yeah, the two come to mind, but I'll focus on one of them. So one of them I'm not going to talk a lot about, but maybe you another point of pride I would say is we have a deep collaboration with NVIDIA for our processors that we put on our machines. And the reason that should be a point of pride, because that work happens right here in Urbandale, with people that are in tight collaboration with NVIDIA. That's super cool. I would say the biggest decision, tech decision that I've been a part of, I wouldn't claim the sole ownership of this one, and that's our relationship with Starlink. We've put since 2012 or 2013, we've put connectivity into our machines. We have 1 million connected machines today around the world. That's usually using AT&T here in the US, but cell coverage is a problem, right? And it's a problem in rural areas. And Starlink has opened up a whole window of connectivity and reliability that we haven't had before. And so when we think about autonomous machines, they need to be reliably connected. And so we're seeing great adoption of this Starlink solution, which is basically an alternative to an AT&T kind of a cell phone, cell tower kind of approach. So it's been awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Jeremy, same question.
Yeah, so we launched biologicals portfolio in the U.S. market as well as Canada, which has been an exciting kind of milestone for us. We acquired two companies that were leading in this space, that were Stoller and Symborg. So if you're not familiar with biologicals, they're crop protection and plant health products really that are derived from nature. Things like biostimulants, biopesticides, biofertilizers. They can help growers be complementary in how they manage pests and improve nutrient uptake, maybe build resilience against all the environmental stresses that a grower deals with every year. But what makes them compelling is really their flexibility. So they complement traditional synthetic products, but they often face a lot less or fewer regulatory approval hurdles, which can just give growers more options here as it becomes harder and harder for us to get synthetic products through the regulatory system today, and it's very costly. There's a lot of data that says that biologicals could make up like 25% of the overall crop protection market in the next 10 years. So we're trying to position ourselves to lead in that space and continue to grow in this area just to provide growers more solutions.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay, now we have some questions coming into the chat box. So first question is from Bob Riley. Thanks for joining us, Bob. And this is related to workforce. So do you think math and verbal skills, knowledge and culture will be neglected with the promise of AI? Any volunteers to start off with that, answering that question from Bob Riley?
Bob, thanks for the question. Maybe I'll jump in with a quick thought. And I say this all the time to my employees and my peers. No matter what happens with AI, we all still need people who can critically think and make good decisions and be able to assess things. And the things you're talking about in terms of math and other things, that helps shape our brains around what that critical thinking is, and how to think about it. I think they're still going to be important. But I would also say, back when I took calculus, I needed to understand and memorize all of these different ways of doing things. And today, when they teach calculus, they don't memorize all those things, right? They want you to understand the concept. So I think the way we learn is maybe going to be a little bit different. But I would say we still need a workforce who could think critically and understand and solve problems. The computer's not going to be able to do that. It's just and the other thing about AI that may bring you some comfort, Bob, is AI doesn't do math well at all. So.
Yeah, good morning, Bob. I'll jump in as well. I remember as a kid being told, you won't always have a calculator in your pocket. Well, of course, we do now always have a calculator in our pocket, but yet STEM skills are as important as ever. And having an intuition for STEM skills, but then being able to use the right tool is incredibly important. And I think, once again, kind of that 90-10 rule. And like Lane said, AI are large language models, LLM. They're not large math models, they're large language models. So not that AI isn't going to continually get a lot better at math. It will. But I think all the things in the past that we have heard are going to cause people to not have to worry about technical skills have proven not to be true. Unfortunately, they probably make remembering things less important because you can just quickly Google everything. But yeah, I feel that technical skills in particular are going to continue to be really, really important. And even if you do use tools, having that technical intuition, that technical polish, that experience and wisdom are going to be incredibly important.
Yeah, I'll maybe just quickly add on to that. I mean, a quote that we use a lot at Corteva that I like is AI is not going to replace people. We're pretty clear about that. It's a people business. But AI could replace people not using AI. And so the way we look at it is how can we use it to make jobs more efficient, easier, get tasks done in quicker, more efficient way. But overall, I just don't see it replacing people. I see it helping the right people get their jobs done more efficiently.
Very good. Thank you. So we have another question and this one's from Billy Hunt from America's Cultivation Corridor. Thanks for being here, Billy. So the question is, you have each talked about innovations happening in your sectors of the industry that you're working on. What innovations are you finding exciting in the industry that fall outside of your sector? Anyone want to start us off on answering that question from Billy?
The biologicals is for me. So that's what Jeremy talked about. That's super cool. Yeah, I get pretty excited about the opportunity around biologicals. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just tag it. We have a lot of collaborations with external industry just in where we can make our business more efficient. I mean, we have a collaboration with John Deere, with Lane. A lot of the things in the equipment side, for both these guys that are on our panel here. I mean, our growers we know they're looking for new innovation there. How do they get their jobs done quicker, more efficiently? How do they use data? And I think both these individuals on the panel represent outside of our specific space in Corteva, but a lot of exciting innovation to come.
I would say precision agriculture and GMO to me are the things that Vermeer is not affiliated with, but that I think will continue to be really impactful to agriculture.
Thank you very much. We have about 6 minutes left, so I'm going to get through as many questions as we can. This question is from Bob House. Thanks for being here, Bob. Your companies have several hundred years of legacy in Iowa. You are the best known names in agriculture and manufacturing. Given the global competitive environment, how do you three stay on top? Who wants to start off?
I mean, I would just say attracting and retaining talent are pretty important to us. And from a historical standpoint, Corteva's not been a place where we were able to attract a lot of folks right out of college. And we're more hiring more seasoned people with 5, 10 years experience. And we've tried to switch that a little bit of how do we retain some of the best talent coming out of directly out of college. And so whether that's, we have a very robust intern program, we have an early career development program, we have some associate roles that all come along with a set of mentoring and coaching just to help individuals get started in the industry. So to me, how we stay on top, to Bob's question, is we got to invest in people, we got to invest in the right talent, and we've got to retain them.
I'll jump in and just say a long-term orientation to me is the key to long-term success for a company like Vermeer. The monthly numbers are important, the quarterly numbers are important, but I often say that to me, I care a lot more about what Vermeer looks like 10 years from now than I do a quarter from now. And I think that's the same attitude my grandfather had and my mother had before me, and that long-term orientation is what allows us to continue to be successful.
Yeah, similarly, I would say we are in a downturn, as Jeremy talked about, right? Our farmers are probably going to in Iowa are going to have a negative, very close to being zero or negative in terms of their earnings this year. That's putting a lot of pressure on us, but we talk a lot about what to look for the long term. How do we come out of this stronger than we have in the past? My job today is a lot of cheerleading within Deere of saying, hey, it's going to be okay. We'll come out of it stronger. And I would say, having been a part of some other companies, the biggest thing we have to keep doing is reinventing ourselves in terms of how do we adjust to the world around us and stay relevant. And that's hard to do. Iowa, we have almost 30 facilities in Iowa, 120 something dealer locations, right? Iowa's critically important to who we are. We're a small town company in a lot of ways that way. And we've got to keep those connections in place. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much. So time went really quickly, and appreciate everyone's questions, and then of course our panelists' expertise. So we're going to close out here with one closing thought from each of you. So whether that is a key takeaway for the business and leaders who are joining us today, or something you want us to be thinking about, inspirational, you name it, just one closing thought. And we'll start with Jeremy.
Yeah, I would say things are moving fast in every sector. Agriculture is, they know that fast pace of change. There's no signs of slowing down. So, I guess as a leader, I've learned it's not enough just to react to change. You have to plan for it. And so I spend a big part of my week, my month, just trying to plan ahead and plan for that change and make sure that we're evolving as an organization as quickly as what our growers are. For us, that means that I have to build teams that can flex, that can adapt, that can stay focused on what matters most in a changing environment. So I try to tell the teams to always just stay calm. I think calm brings calmness, and when you lead with steadiness, I think it helps others stay grounded and focused on what matters.
Thank you so much. Jason.
I'll use the same answer to this one as I did the last one, and that's long-term orientation. I think as long as a company is oriented for the long term, what seems like a challenge in the near term can be leveraged for something opportunistic in the long term, and technologies that are disruptive in the near term can be leveraged for benefit in the long term.
Excellent. Thanks, Jason. Lane, final thought.
Yeah, maybe less about the technology and more about the people. I think one of the things I think about quite a bit is sometimes we expect people to be superhumans, and they're just humans. They're living a life. They got a whole lot of stuff happening before they come to work, after they leave work. They're human beings, and how do we as leaders interact with them that way, understand who they are, who their families are, and how can we lead by really having empathy and compassion for the people that work with us, and recognizing that they're under a lot of stress, sometimes within work, sometimes outside of work. And so, how do we be as human as we possibly can, as we're trying to get stuff done, but we're doing it with a bunch of people that have a whole lot of stuff going on. I've got a guy that was a part of those tornadoes that happened. When was that? A year and a half ago, or when was that? Almost a year and a half ago. He's just back in his house. I mean, it's just his life is not back together again, right? After that big event that took a roof off his house. So I think as leaders, we just need to have that long view of who these people are and how do we help them as people. So
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lane, Jeremy, Jason, for this great conversation today. We really appreciate the ability and opportunity to learn from all of you and hear from you and your expertise as industry leaders. So this is our final scheduled event for the Economic Outlook webinar series, but we will continue to provide programming, of course, for our investors and affiliates to help you prepare for a successful future. So stay tuned for more events that will be announced soon. Thank you again and have a great day.
Thanks all.